Welcome back to another episode of Traversing Life with TK. Today we're going to talk a little bit about loneliness on your spiritual path. Now, this is a theme that comes up for a lot of people, and this is also a theme that's come up for me multiple times. Like I said in previous videos, just because you go through something once and you learn about something once doesn't mean that you're not going to go through it again and learn about a deeper aspect of it again. And this is one of those lessons that I feel is especially hard for people to understand and get a grasp of on any level that you're at, because you hear people talking about once you get into spirituality how it starts to feel like you're losing friends, you're losing people that are close to you, you lose so many of those connections that you had before, that it starts to make you feel like it's just you out here, that you're alone. And then on another aspect, you'll start to feel more connected with the universe and with different things. But that's the contradiction that really starts to, how do I put it, starts to eat away at you, because you realize how connected you are with everything around you. But then with some of your relationships, you be like, well, why don't I have these meaningful relationships with some of the people that are around me? And you start to feel even more alone because you feel like you're the only one out here. And then that's like some of the beginning stages that people will feel, because you changed. You're a different person. You're noticing things differently. You're vibrating on a different frequency. So now the things that you were aligned to before, you're not aligned to anymore, because you are different. You are vibrating differently. So now you're attracting and resonating with different things. So yeah, at first it's going to feel a little lonely, and you have to go out there to find the beings that resonate with you, to find the beings that you can vibe with, that you can talk with, that you can actually have an experience with. Because once you start to actually grasp the fact that, hey, this loneliness is really just coming from you having to understand that it's you. You're going through this journey. Now, you're going to have these connections. You're going to have people that you can make connections with. But ultimately, you have to put in the work for yourself. You have to dive in and figure out what's real, what's not real, what works, what doesn't work for you. And that is where I believe, from at least where I'm at right now, where all this loneliness comes from. Because when you start to work on these things and realize that it's just you, you have to work on how you feel about yourself throughout this process. It it changes things, because now you start to realize, like, hey, I have control too as well. It's not just that I'm I'm out here by myself trying to work on these things for me, and work on these things that I feel are going to help, the collective, or however you want to put it. You start to realize that, hey, you have to be comfortable with yourself. And this is why I say this comes up multiple times. And it's something that really hits people, because you want to feel that connection. You want to have those people that you're close to. You want to have the ability to go out there and communicate with another person, interact with another person on the same level as yourself. And sometimes it can be hard depending on where you are, depending on the situation you're in. There's all kinds of different things that factor in whether or not this works for you or not. Oh, I thought I had some water over here. And I do. You have to learn to accept yourself, is really what it comes down to. Once you learn to accept and become more comfortable with yourself, then that sense of loneliness kind of goes away. because that's really all it is you're not comfortable with who you are in that moment. And I know you're saying, well, I'm comfortable with who I am. I understand who I am. Well, we're constantly changing. We're constantly learning. We're constantly attracting and interacting with all these new energies. And while you're doing that, you're becoming a new person. You're becoming a new you. So that sense of loneliness can creep up again because now you have to get comfortable with who you are now. In every moment, this is happening. So it can get to the point where you're crying. You don't even understand why you are trying anymore. It can make you so depressed and such a negative feeling, a negative emotion, negative vibration that you decide that you're not going to do your spiritual practices, or you decide that you're not going to do the things that help you out in everyday life because now you feel like it doesn't matter because now you want to change your ways because you see other people having these connections. You see other people having this happiness and this joy about them. But at the same time, that's not you. You have to understand that that's their journey and what they're going through. And if you were in their shoes, it might not be exactly what you think it is because you're not sure exactly what those people are going through. And it doesn't really matter because it's about what you're going through. It's about how you interact with yourself, how you understand yourself, how you are confident in who you are. That's really how you start getting rid of this loneliness. And I can tell you from experience, like last week, as of when I record this video, obviously, last week, I got so depressed for a little bit. I was really in that negative vibration because I felt so lonely, like I wasn't connected to the people around me because of the interactions that I have with people. And the fact that I put so much in and don't get it back. And that's a mentality that can really shape what's going on because you start to realize like, hey, are you doing things just to get things back? And that's what I was thinking about. And I started to look in and look within and really look within of what was going on. And I was like, it's not that I'm expecting something back. It's the fact that once you give that energy and you give that part of yourself and you make yourself vulnerable, and that's really what it is. When you make yourself vulnerable, you start to realize that, hey, that vulnerability comes with different pros and cons. Yes, you could be more open with people, but at the same time, if they're not open back, it can cause a disconnect. And that disconnect is what starts bringing in a lot of these negative thoughts or these thoughts that are lower vibrational, thoughts that will take you out of the path that you're trying to be on, the path that you are on. It's going to make you be more reflective of your relationships. And depending on where you are in that moment, it can get intense. Like I said, that example that I was talking about last week with myself, it got so intense where I was crying. I really and truly felt so alone. And I had to take a second to understand where that feeling was coming from. And this is what I talk about in my videos, is when these things are happening to you in that moment, it's okay to sit in that emotion in that moment. But you got to learn from it. You got to be able to move on from it. And that's what that loneliness does to you. It makes you not want to move on. Because now you're thinking of what coulda, shoulda, woulda instead of what is. And in that moment of what is, you have to understand that no matter what happens, no matter what's going on around you, you're still you. You still have to live life the way that you want to live it. You still have to live life the best way that you can. And in that moment, you have to be comfortable with the fact that all you can do is what you can do. And that's okay. You might not can fix a whole bunch of other things or do all these grand things that you're trying to do in that moment. I'm not saying that you can't do it in general, but in that moment, you might not be able to do it in that moment. And it brings up those emotions and those feelings of not understanding and not being sure of who you are. But it's okay, because this is where you could go in and evaluate yourself. I talk about it all the time. When these things come up and you sit in that emotion, it's fine to be in that emotion, but you have to look at it and see where it's coming from, evaluate it, and see how you want to interact with this energy again. Is what theme is coming up and why? So that loneliness theme that keeps coming up for me, why does it keep coming up? Because I am constantly changing and I have to constantly be comfortable with myself in every moment. Because you might have been comfortable with who you were last week, yesterday, an hour ago, a year ago, say a decade ago, who knows? But you have to be comfortable with who you are in this moment. And that's the conclusions I be coming to. Because that loneliness, trust me guys, ladies, everyone out there, it touches so deep down to the point where you won't know where to go. It causes so much confusion, so much chaos in your mental state. And as I've said before, the mental state is a big crux, is a big thing in this reality, because it's how you interpret and perceive things. Because that's how you learned in this reality, in this physical reality where you are right now. So, if your mental is jumbled up, then how you perceive things is going to be jumbled up. How you interact with things is going to be jumbled up. So, when you're in these emotions and you're in these modes, you have to realize that, hey, this is just where I am in this moment, and be able to separate it. That's a big thing, being able to separate from that emotion and from that, while also feeling it and being in it at the same time. So that you can, the reason why you have to separate it is so that you can actually observe it objectively. You have to be in it in order to feel it subjectively, because you can't have a full grasp or full picture of it if you don't be objective about it and subjective about it. And that's where a lot of people get confused, because it is a contradiction. There's a lot of contradictions in life that are still true. But in order to get to the root of the matter and get to the point where you can truly understand what's going on, you have to be able to accept that contradiction. You have to be able to see both sides of it, all sides of it, in order to get that full picture. Because if you just look at it objectively, you're not getting also the feelings behind it, which leads you to learning the deeper causes, the root causes of what's going on. Because once you are in it and you get that subjective feeling from it, then you can see subjectively in your experience, where are these ideas coming from? Where is this energy coming from, and why? How often does it come up? What places do it come up at? There's all kinds of questions that you ask yourself so that you can understand more what this energy is. Does it come up only in these situations? Any situation that particular energy comes up in, now you should take a look at, a deeper look at, pay attention to, especially if it's a theme that comes up all the time. And loneliness is one of these themes. And I know a lot of people out there have dealt with this. A lot of people out there are dealing with it right now. And to those of you who are dealing with it right now and you're trying to find out ways to cope, take a deep breath. No, really, like with me right now, just and breathe out. After you take that deep breath, I want you to really give yourself some love. If you want to hug yourself, if you want to just be there and sit with yourself for a moment, show yourself some love. Don't worry about how anybody else interacts with you. Right now, I want you to focus on the interaction with yourself. As long as you have that love for yourself inside, regardless of what anything else is going on, you'll realize that you're not alone. You're just going through this experience. And right now, in this experience, you're just not interacting with anyone around you. And that's fine. It's okay in this moment. Accept it. Let it go. You need to release, cry, let it out. It's okay. Because through letting it out, you'll get a clear picture of what's going on. Trust me. It helps. And this is just one way to do it. You start to get this feeling of loneliness. Take a second to really look at, okay, why do I feel lonely? Is it because I'm actually alone? Or is it because the connections that I made aren't as deep as I would like? And this is where we go into the expectations. A lot of loneliness, a lot of that feeling and that energy comes from not understanding your expectations of how you want your relationships and your interactions to go. You can't expect how your relationships are going to go. All you can do is deal with them in the way that you do. Deal with them in the way that is more you, more aligned with who you are. Because as you do that, that's when you start to find those people that you make those deeper connections with, because you're getting more aligned with those people. The energies are lining up for you to actually have that connection and that feeling with those. But you don't have to be sad about it right now in this moment. It's okay if you are. Feel it, let it go. Release all of that. Because through being your genuine, authentic self, you're going to be able to find so much more. But you can't do that if you're looking back and you're holding on to all of that negativity, all of that negative emotion from that loneliness that's coming up. You have to release that. Because if you hold on to that, you'll attract more of that. Let me say that again. If you hold on to that loneliness energy, you'll attract more of that loneliness energy. So you have to let it go and release it in order to attract what you want to attract. Be in the vibration, the energy that you want to be in. And this is not something that's easy. It's not something that comes just right away. You have to really work at this type of stuff because you have to understand yourself better. You have to be in the mode of knowing who you are. And when I say knowing who you are, I'm not saying that you have to have a super deep understanding of yourself. This could be anybody, anywhere on their path. I'm saying you have to understand that you are just experiencing your life. You are doing the things that you can. Nothing else really matters. You just have to do you. And once you get that energy within you of being your authentic self and being who you are in all times, that sense of loneliness will start to go away because you start to be more connected with yourself. Because you are connected with everything around you. You know that connection when you start on your spiritual path and you're like, I'm connected with this and that. And you feel the connection with everything around you. You feel that connection. That is always there. It's just whether or not you're aware of it, whether or not you're tapping into it, and whether or not it's actually serving a purpose for you in that moment. And that's why you might not be aware of it right now. But the more that you start to be comfortable with yourself, the more that you start to understand about yourself, the more that you start to do the things that you want to be doing in your life, you'll start to get rid of that loneliness energy. Because it's a powerful energy. It's very powerful, which is why a lot of people get stuck in it. And I'm hoping that you'll take something from this video. This is something that I deal with a lot because I'm constantly changing and I understand that. I understand it, I overstand it, which is why I allow these lessons to come. Because you could block your lessons. And when you block your lessons, you don't learn anything and you get stuck on that hamster wheel of life and now you're just going in a circle round and round. Take some time to hop off the hamster wheel. Explore yourself. Be more you. Be more authentically you. And that loneliness will go away. Trust me, you might not feel it right now because you're stuck in it. Or you might have been stuck in it for a long time. You got to get more comfortable with yourself. That's really what it comes down to. Because no matter whether or not you have anybody else around you or other people to interact with, as long as you're comfortable with yourself and you understand where you're coming at it from, you won't be lonely. Because you're constantly exploring, you're constantly learning, you're constantly growing. And in that growth, there's so much excitement, there's so much joy, so much happiness. If you tap into it, this is the whole thing about anything in life. It's whether or not you choose to tap into it. Because if you choose not to tap into it or you don't want to, then hey, it's not there for you. It's not going to do the things that you're wanting it to do because you're not tapping into it. And that's fine if you don't want to feel that. But you're missing out on some things. And it's not to say that, oh, you should be regretful about missing out on those things. When you tap into and you feel that joy and happiness from the growth and excitement of learning more about you and growing on this experience, in this journey, when you tap into that joy and excitement, it overpowers all. When we say love overpowers everything, that joy and excitement is a part of the love. It provides you with the energy to push forward. It provides you with the energy to go and explore and push past whatever challenges and obstacles you have in your way right now. So don't feel like you're by yourself. Don't feel like you're just so alone and that all you want to do is make these other connections. It will come in time. You just have to be you. Be comfortable with yourself. And then you'll see the changes. For those of you who want to dive deeper or have been dealing with different issues over time, especially with depression, loneliness, suicidal thoughts, anything like this, hit me up for a one-on-one. DM me. Message me. I've been through these things. I've experienced these things multiple times on multiple levels because you start to understand things on multiple levels once you go through it a few times. And my perspective might not be your perspective, which will help you out. You got to get different perspectives. And that's what I offer. I offer different perspectives. And I also offer really true love to the people who get my services because I really want to help you. This isn't even about me. It's about you. It's really about you. Because you are trying to get some help. You're trying to get some clarity on something, or you want to get to a different place in your life, and it's okay. I can help with that. You can help with that. But it all starts with the dialogue. So hit me up, DM me. We can talk about these things. We can go into deeper aspects. This is just a little bit about this subject. There's so many different nuances and different things that we could go into on an actual one-on-one call. And not only that, the energy that gets built up can help to remove some of that loneliness energy. Or you can get a grid that will help to allow you to be more comfortable with yourself, allow you to understand your energy more. But these are all things and tools that you have to activate, you have to do yourself personally. So when you're looking at my services or you're listening to my videos, just know that the action still has to be taken with you. I can give you this information. I can help you out. I can also also provide different energy to help you with whatever you're going through. But ultimately, you have to deal with it. Again, being comfortable that you will live your life by your standards. But I think that's enough for today. Anybody out there who is right now truly feeling that loneliness and it's starting to get overwhelming, I just want to let you know that I send out love, peace, understanding, compassion, and know that you're not alone in the fact that other people go through this as well. I love you and I want the best for you. I truly do. Thank you guys. My gratitude for everybody who watches my videos. And I truly hope you get something out of these videos. And if you do, like, comment, subscribe, share my videos. And as always, my love and gratitude to you all. Peace.